This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's pod. This is the week in review of December 11th, 2021. One of the last shows of the year, Phil. How are you feeling about 2021
I'm ready for it to be gone.
Yes.
Although
And start anew.
2022 is going to be starting off much better, but who knows?
Yeah, but this is not our end of the year podcast.
No.
We're just kind of getting ready for it, I guess. We're gonna try a new format here, Phil. We talked about it last week. If you're watching, you see larger pictures of us, or actually, our faces are smaller, but the angle is bigger. I guess I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah,
yes. Ultimately, you could tell that Phil has a much better background than me, because if this actually works out well, I'll get some better lighting and something that looks fancy behind me or something else like that. So we are not going to do the whole news topic type of thing. We have a kind of a different way we're going to flow. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Bill, with some suggestions on how he was viewing the show type of thing. So we're going to try a different cadence. But we mentioned last week, Phil, that you have we had a leftover question. So what was that?
Yeah,
so start the show.
Started the show off with a cold open question, so we just go right into it, and it is following up from last week. We mentioned about how future projects beyond what's sort of known so far. So like what's going to come after Tron and Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. And we said, well, hopefully there's a whole bunch of those things for like the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever, going to be announced at next year's D23 Expo. So my question for you is, what is the one thing along those lines that you are hoping gets announced at the Expo next year, next September?
Right. So, like everybody said, like we talked about, nothing was really announced. We don't know what the future of Walt Disney World is. I mean, they just made a big deal of the trams, right? We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
So there's some speculation. So I was thinking about this earlier, but on my way back from my in-laws today, we were listening to this week's, I guess last week's, it came out on Monday, Disney Dish with Jim Hill and Len Testa. And they were talking about the new chairman of the Walt Disney Company, yep, and new head of Imagineering. I think you reported that last week. Mm-hmm. I've just written down their name. So Susan Arnold is new chairman, and then we've got Barbara Bauza, I think I pronounced her name correctly, as head of Imagineering. And they were, go back, I'm not going to just steal their material, so go listen to that podcast. They dove a little bit deeper in it. But the speculation was we're not hearing a lot right now is because they're basically clearing the deck, and Bob Chapek is putting all his new people into place that he wants. And all the slated ideas from, the new Epcot and all this other stuff, they're like, okay, let's let Bauza get into position, get her feet ready as Imagineering's moving across the country, feet wet, I guess, in the position. And so then she'll have full ownership of what's to come. So I'm assuming they're probably, hopefully working on that, and they've got a full year to kind of do some kind of speculation. So to kind of answer your question, what do I hope that they're kind of doing? I hope they're going to have a new vision for Epcot, again, like how we're going to finish it, what's going to be into place there. I'd love to find out more about Disneyland and that expansion that they kind of teased, that it's going to happen, but you said the content of those teasers were
Disneyland Forward, I think it was called.
Yep. So that'd be kind of neat. I would love to see the announcement that the Beastly Kingdoms and Animal Kingdom is coming into play. They're going to invest in that park a bit more, because I think what they're going to see is we could talk about this ad nauseum every single week about how people are disappointed with Walt Disney World right now. And so with Genie Plus kind of failing at Magic Kingdom and being successful at Disneyland, which is kind of strange, that they need to get people out of Magic Kingdom and into the other parks. So how do you do that? You got to build new stuff, right? So I don't think we'll see any new additions to the Magic Kingdom after Tron for a very long time. And I don't think we'll see anything at Hollywood Studios for any time in the early to medium term, right? Maybe we'll see some plans 6 years from now type of thing. But I think they're going to start seeing some investment in Animal Kingdom because it's the least invested park and it's got a lot of space. So I hope Animal Kingdom. That's my long-winded answer to your question.
I was going to say, I asked for one thing, and I think you gave me like 5. But
no, I think. I mean, like, I want to preface it like why we're not. I don't think we're going to see anything next year. That's my answer.
Okay.
What would I like to see is Animal Kingdom additions. What I think we're going to hear is absolutely nothing. We're going to hear more churros and trams, and that's basically it. And then maybe a year after that, we'll see. I could say more, but it's only speculation and BS at this point, right? What do you think? Are we going to hear anything? And B, what do you want to hear? What do you think we'll hear?
I think everything you're saying makes sense about wanting to kind of like, okay, now it's time for this new regime to really take over and put their stamp on things. And obviously that doesn't happen in 1 year, but I'm hoping, 10 months from now or whatever at the D23 Expo, they have some excitement, right? Some long-term vision, even if it's not detailed and it's not like this is coming this year or whatever, but there is some kind of excitement of here's what our vision for the parks for the next 5-10 years is. The one thing that you mentioned, the one thing that I really want to see is like, okay, we've kind of, due to COVID or whatever, they've scaled back what's happening at Epcot. They had this grand vision of it, and obviously that's not all going to come to fruition in the next 18 months. But what is their vision for Epcot going forward? They talked about making it more Disney, more family, more fun, all that stuff. Is that still it? Are they building on that? Is there going to be more like what is their vision for making Epcot, which is that unique park to Walt Disney World, kind of that piece of it? Like, how do we make it, kind of the grand place it used to be? And so I guess that kind of ties into the larger part about vision and stuff like that. But I think specifically what they want Epcot to be.
Is the construction zone going to be completed by D23 next year? That might be the real question.
No, I mean,
right?
I don't think it'll be completed. Like we kind of had that rumor of the new music being released for the new soundtrack for Epcot when the construction's wrapped up in 2023. So, I mean, hopefully it's more along the way and like kind of
that's what I'm. Yeah, it's just not a pit in the middle of
exactly. Hopefully,
future
it's,
world.
Maybe can walk across the center of the park or something by then. But I don't think it'll be totally done by then. But hopefully,
I don't think it has to be totally done.
No, but hopefully the finish line is in view or something like that. Like we kind of get an idea of what it's going to be.
Or I mean, just like not a construction zone, right? Yeah. Like just not that.
Yeah, I just remember when I was there leaving Epcot after Harmonious, it just literally felt like you were walking. Once you got to Future World, you were just walking along construction walls to get out. It was like a half mile of construction walls. Embarrassing
and kind of it definitely poor show, but it's laziness. I mean, like that should have been demoed and done a long time ago, and I don't think they're working their fastest for it. I mean, did you see the discussion in Discord today about somebody on the Diz talking about writing in a complaint or whatever about how Epcot looks like a construction zone, and it was just
I knew that was part of the post, yeah. And,
yeah.
Other things in there, but
I mean, like I'm seeing just podcast after podcast just kind of echoing exactly what we were talking about in the last 2 weeks. And I don't want to be a downer for a lot of this stuff, but I think it's going to be a prevailing theme. For
and
a
maybe
lot of
that's
casts.
My one thing I really want is I want that so somehow for them to flip that narrative, like get us excited
right
again,
But like if enough of us talk about it on our small podcast, and hopefully that echoes into much bigger podcasts, and then that echoes to the guests every single day that write in, like go in and don't go harass cast members when you're in the park with a complaint. Like when you're done, send in an email, put in a phone call, write a letter, whatever. Don't do it at the park, but do it in the appropriate setting. And hopefully, I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not going to change on a dime. But hopefully, in the next year or two, these I don't know, do more guest recovery stuff. I guess you want to call it. But yeah, so that was. I mean, we could talk about this all day long, right? I feel a Mandalorian rant coming on about this, and I'm gonna put a stop to myself. So I apologize, everybody.
After show one of these days,
yes, probably. Well, yeah. Well, I'm gonna go on my rant. Phil's going to secretly hit stop recording on my side. It's just me yelling at. It's going to be like you're going to pre-record your camera. It's just going to be you on a loop, and I'm just going to be talking to nobody. That's my therapy. That's what I need. Okay, I want to give out we're going to go over the Disney comeback index for this week. There hasn't been any updates. I think the last update was earlier this month. Nothing else has really changed. But the only reason why I bring this up because I want to shout out to Matt's new episode of the podcast where he was very glowing of the DBC pod. A lot of shout outs on that episode, which we appreciate. And if you're interested in knowing how it works, a little bit of math, a little bit of the inside baseball into the whole thing, definitely give his show a listen. And he kind of goes into depth on where the DCI came from, how it developed over time, the origin story, so to speak. It's pretty darn cool. So give that a shot. And by the way, it's just shy of 76%. So if you're, I'm pretending like everybody's watching, but most people just listen. So it's about 75.78%.
We have been shifting though. I've been following kind of our downloads versus views, and it used to be like 95.5%. It's shifting more towards, it's still majority is downloads, but the percentages are shifting. So we need more likes. Watchers.
Like this if you want to help us out, like if you are watching this right now, and hopefully you're subscribed. If not, subscribe please. And then just scroll down, hit the thumbs up button, and then leave a comment. Apparently YouTube really likes that. Even a comment saying hello or you stink or whatever, as long as there is some engagement down below, YouTube really likes that, and that helps us populate other people's suggested videos type of thing. So,
and we've been getting a few comments, which we definitely appreciate. So keep them.
Yes, absolutely. So keep them coming and keep the engagement going. Okay, so now is not the time for the news, as Phil wrote in the show notes. Phil, you teased out throughout the week that we're going to be talking more about Disney dining this week. And I know you had. Do you want to do some of our strategies and some of our recommends, or do you want to go with the questions first, the Q&A?
So I think they roll in together a little bit. The whole thing started with, I know both of us are coming up on our 60-day ADR point, where we'll be able to make our or attempt to make our ADRs for our February trip that each of us have that happen to be overlapping. So I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of like, since we're in that frame of thinking about what we want to book, go over with our audience what we're thinking of for our trips, but just in general, how do we think about dining and that sort of thing? And so we got some good questions that sort of built on that. We got quite a few either through Discord or Facebook and stuff like that. So kind of working from the top down, why don't we just start with that? Like when you are thinking about your booking your dining or how you're going to eat when you're at Walt Disney World for your vacation, what's your overall strategy about that? What types of meals do you generally do? And then when you think about booking them, how does that go about?
So personally, this is interesting. I had a strategy, and then COVID changed it because we don't have character dining anymore, right?
Yep.
So the old strategy, which I'm assuming is going to be the new strategy, maybe the next trip type of thing, right? Yeah. Hopefully it comes back and everything gets somewhat close to normal. Is if it's just my upcoming trip, which we'll talk about some of my strategies for that, is different. That's a family reunion. There's 11 of us, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just for me, my family, so it's just maybe the 5 of us, or when my mother tags along and comes, we do character dining, and we do it early, right? So, for example, if we're at Hollywood Studios, even though Hollywood and Vine is not the best meal in the world, the characters' interaction's excellent. So I'll book that for like 4 or 5 o'clock, just as the kids are kind of getting tired and running around type of thing. You can go right in and sit down.
When you say early, you mean like an early dinner, not
dinner.
Early,
yes,
like
4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon type of thing. Usually you can get those booked pretty easily. We'll do something like Chef Mickey's for lunch, or 11 o'clock, usually the earliest, through like 1 o'clock, somewhere in that kind of time frame, whereas when they're still serving eggs and stuff like that. But like I'll pepper all my, if we're on the dining plan, I'm getting my money's worth, right? So we're doing the character dining, that type of thing. What's changed now this time is we just want to have some good food that's not going to break the bank, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So now it's just personal taste because we're going with my sister. She's a Disney expert. Also, I learned a lot from her in the early going. So basically her touring is completely different now, right? She's got an AP this year. She's going in February with us, and then she's turning around and going with some of her other side of the family in, I think, June. And she'll probably go again later on with some of her DVC points type of thing. So that being said, she's never been to Skipper Canteen. She's vegan, and I'm like, you probably really like that because they could probably really spice up, some tofu, some seitan if they have some of that, some veggies, that type of thing. So we're digging that. So we're going to try some of the never done before type of stuff.
Okay.
And that also includes like Topolino's at Riviera because we're staying right there, Caribbean Beach. And I think we're just kind of peppering with like what just kind of makes sense. And do you want me to go over what I picked? Are we going to hop right into this, or we want to save that for?
Well, I have that as for later. But if you're feeling motivated and we want to do that first, it's the
what actually.
It's the new episode, the new
format. Yeah, well, we're
change
going
it on the fly.
nuts. Yeah, exactly.
It's the new format.
I mean, let's we'll save that because I think you were more looking for what is your overall strategy, right? So I always pick at least 2 quick service locations to go to in case one is busy and whatever, that type of thing. There's a couple ones I always have to do, and that's like Santuli's Canteen in Animal Kingdom because I think that's the best food on property. At Magic Kingdom, I'll take whatever I can get at that point because I don't really care unless I'm doing like a be our guest type of thing for the kids. For example, I did Harbor House because you mentioned that hummus, is it a wrap or sandwich for my wife? So I was like, oh, we're stopping here. I was like, honey, we're going to get you this because Phil said it was delicious and you have to eat it. And she liked it. So you're not in the closet or your doghouse with her on that one. Yeah, so I'll pick like 1 or 2 places. There's one thing I do not want to do when I'm in the parks is like everybody huddled together and saying, what do you want to eat? Well, we could go here. Well, we can go here, especially with larger groups. So when my sister, her whole family's vegan, my whole family is half vegetarian, and my parents will just basically eat anything. So if we could have a strategy, essentially saying, here are a couple options, let's limit decision making, I think that's good for anybody. So it depends on who your family is, right? So kind of go in that direction. Sit down meals, that's tough. I'm venturing into a world where I don't have a dining plan, so now cost is being associated with that. Even though I paid for it already with a dining plan, I don't know, it's just kind of a different mentality. So I don't have a strategy other than what's kind of delicious food, so to speak.
Yep.
That was long-winded. I apologize to everybody
That's
else
all right.
listening, watching
That's
out there.
okay.
Do you have a strategy? Because I kind of think you do, but what is it?
So we do. So I think, first of all, dining is generally a big part of our vacations, whether it's at Walt Disney World or elsewhere. Like that's, trying new food and trying new places and
drinks.
Spending and drinks to be
and
fair.
drinks
and
more drinks.
We always allocate, a decent amount of our funds for dining. Like that's part of being on vacation for us. So we are going to, always want to try some, nicer places, not exclusively, but we, picking a few nice places. Usually what we do is we ask everyone in the family, is there one place you really want to go to, something new or something that, was one of your favorites that you wanted to do? We always try to mix in like a couple favorites with a couple new places, that sort of thing. The other thing we do is we usually don't have hoppers. So we usually try to map up the dining spot we want to eat with the park we're going to be in that day, obviously. And so it's like, okay, well, if we have one at Magic Kingdom Day, is there one place we want to eat there or around Magic Kingdom? We kind of map it up that way. The other thing I guess that's been changing for us is now that the last trip we had one Disney adult amongst our kids. Our next trip we will have 2. That is reducing our desire to do like prefix and character meals and stuff like that because they don't.
You're basically doubling the price for the plate.
Doubling the price, and even if it includes an alcohol beverage, they can't get that. And,
you can.
Stuff like that. So we got to think about that a little bit more. It's I think shifted us a little more towards quick service where we can, just get a meal and split it or whatever. We never got the dining plan because it just didn't usually work the way we like to eat. So when we would do like say a character meal, we often did breakfasts because they were a little cheaper.
Yep. They're about like a good like 25% cheaper depending on where you go.
Yeah, exactly. And our favorite thing was to do the pre-park opening breakfast. You got in early, you got there and kind of started your day and stuff like that. So those were a lot of our strategies around that. A follow-up question we got around this was, well, first of all, you kind of answered this a little bit with having, with vegetarians and vegans, but they were asking if we have picky eaters, does that impact our approach? And I think, we all have kids, sometimes, I'm thankful my kids are usually willing to try some things, but at the same time, they love mac and cheese and they love chicken fingers and stuff like that. So I know when we're picking, especially the quick service options, we will look through the menus and just say, okay, we know there's something here they'll eat. that sort of thing. And so we kind of pick it around that as far as having picky eaters.
Picky eaters don't affect my approach, so to speak, because if we're doing it with just us, like our September trip, then basically we're doing quick service anyway, type of thing. But if it's more of like a long form vacation where we're there for a week plus, and we want to eat, like just like you said, it's part of our vacationing experience. The only thing I do is make sure that there's something that my wife can eat on the menu. So, the kids, I don't care. You're going to eat. You can get chicken fingers and French fries and all that nonsense almost anywhere that you go. And if anything, you can get them bread and butter. I mean, the worst case scenario, right? I just want to make sure that if we're spending good money, that my wife is going to actually sit down at the table and like just not get a salad, right? That's if she has other expansive things on the menu. Then we're good. That's basically what it is. Not to say that my wife's a picky eater, because she'll probably just go and have a salad, and that's fine if she's, there's not another option for her. But I don't want to sit here where I'm eating this amazing like dish that I'm really enjoying, and she's sitting there with like, something with balsamic vinaigrette on it, and that's all she's eating.
Yeah.
So
no,
everybody at the table's got to enjoy.
Yeah, and that's something I check into too. My wife's, well, she's not a vegetarian. She doesn't eat beef or pork, and she eats a lot more vegetables than I do and that sort of thing. So she's kind of like a loose vegetarian maybe. But I know a lot of people recently where they had a good meal at Yachtsman Steakhouse, and we've never eaten there because I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to something that has steak.
Yeah, exactly.
That sort of thing. So we were exploring like, well, what are the vegetarian options there? What is, she'll eat fish, like what are the seafood options? So, when it's that type of a location, I definitely check into, are there things that she'll eat for sure?
Well, we'll get into some of the planning stuff next, and what I selected for our upcoming trip, because our ADR day is Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Today I was driving home, and I had a good solid 3-hour drive home today from my mother's house. We visited them up in Jersey, and I was saying to myself, it's like, you know what? I totally forgot about Artist Point opening up this week, so that's going to be available. So we was like, I called up my sister, hey, let's put this on the list, right? And then 2, I realized, man, I really wanted to try the Steakhouse 71, but there's going to be nobody in our party other than maybe my parents that'll be eating like a steak or a hamburger. So I'm like, I was like, can I sneak away, get one of those things to go? I mean, but if there's no options for other people, I'm not going to drag.
Well, I will say my wife got the vegetable Wellington there and loved it. So there is.
You did mention that. Now I'm reminding myself.
So there's not like a million options. Obviously, there's more steak options, but there are definitely some non-meat options.
Okay, I'm thinking about it now. Excellent. Okay.
All right. Let's plans.
No, you enhanced them. This is good.
And maybe we can get into this too when we get into our names. But when you were thinking about, but somebody asked about, do we have backup options for strategies when we're making our ADRs? It seems like lately it's been even harder to get ADRs, especially the popular places. Before it seemed like there were 1 or 2 that was always hard to get, but now it seems like if you check a time, there could be half of the good options are gone. So maybe we could talk about if that came into play, like when we're thinking about all the places we want to stay, are there backups for each option? You kind of talked about that a little bit already. I think for quick service, you always have a couple. And then people also asked about reservation finder tools, which I'm not sure if
those are great. Okay, so let's do this. So backups for hard ADRs. So do I have backups? I don't. Right. Typically, I can get what I want. Because before I never really tried to get hard. The hardest ADR I was getting was either Be Our Guest, when that was like a hot ticket item, and Sidler's Royal Table at a good time. Right, not at 3:30 or at 9:00 at night, type of thing. So some dead air here. Do I have backups? No, because I generally Chef Mickey's is not available for brunch as our sit-down meal. Then we'll go to Skipper's Canteen because that's what we like, or Crystal Palace again. And usually you can get ADRs for all those things, or back in the day you could, right? So that's not really changing too much on my front. So I will have to go in and find backups. I'm like, I haven't done ADRs since in this new world, so I don't know. I don't think we're asking for many popular places. So I don't know. What about you? Do you have backups? How did you do it in your recent trip?
So we usually have a couple, like I said, we'll make a list of the different places we want to stay, and we'll have a couple extra. And usually what we happen is we've had fairly good luck at getting what we wanted. You know, I was always the one that was up at, well, now I guess you got to be online at 5:45 Eastern time to get your ADRs and stuff like that. So I was always willing to do that, and always had fairly good luck. Might not be the ideal time, but whatever, I could
get
do
something
pretty well. But I would always have like one or two, like, okay, if I really can't get this one, and this is like first night of the trip, like our last trip, I know we had our arrival night a lot of times isn't a park night and a park day. So we're like, well, where do we want to eat? We want to see fireworks maybe or something like that. So we have a couple ideas for that. Even that trip, it was like, well, we wanted to do California Grill. We couldn't get it. We wound up doing the cruise, which worked out really well. But we always, for like kind of those where it's a specific time in a specific area we know we want to eat, I'll probably have a couple thoughts for what that could be. But a lot of times, especially if it's in park, it's like, well, this is the one we want to try. If we can get it, great. If we can't, I'm not going to get like, another expensive table service just to have something. It's like, if I can't get the one I want, I'll just do quick service for that meal or whatever. So I think that's what happens more often than not, is like, we'll plan for, say, 6 table services we want, and maybe we only get 4 or 5, and then we'll just do a quick service for the one we didn't get, versus like, oh, we got to have something in this time slot.
Yep. Like for example, let's just transition to the tools, right? So I pay for touring plans. I mean, if you're a Disney planner, you should have a subscription to touring plans. It's a whopping $15 a year, I think. Is that what it is, or is it $25 now?
No, I think it's like $17.95 or something.
Okay, it's $2 more than what I remember it was.
It's really not bad.
But regardless,
that's for the whole year, so it's not.
It's slightly more expensive than one day of Genie for one person, right? So, money well spent, by the way. And like you said in the notes, you could get, if you sign up for free, you get access to one of it. If you have pay for it, you get 2 slots. And basically, what it does, it scrolls through the reservation finder, and if it finds an opening, it pings you with an email or a text. And it's really helpful because on the text, as long as you're able to log into MDE on your phone, like you don't have to put in your name and your password. You hit the link, and boom, it opens up, and you just go book it, and you're in. And it's easy as anything. And that's why I've always been able to get what I want. I mean, I've gotten like reservations 2 days before I go on my trip. I can remember when I got Be Our Guest for the exact time that I wanted, like 2 days before we left. And I ran up screaming at my wife, like, I got it. And woke her up. She's all angry. But I'm like, I got it. She's like, go away. Let me sleep. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll be excited by myself. Those are very good. And I think the reason why touring plans allows you to do it for free, because they're just collecting your data, stuff like that. So basically, that's where it's going to. But it's helpful. You have listed a couple ones up here. I've never used 2 of these. You have Mouse Dining. I've tried it before, and for some reason it wasn't as accurate, but I never paid for it, so I don't know if that had something. And that was maybe like 4 years ago, also. Yep. And I know a lot of travel agents use it because you can pay for it and you can just set up like 1 million reservations and start pinging them all. Have you used the other one, Mouse Watcher and WDW Dining Finder?
So I've used, the other ones I listed out, which were ones that I was able to quickly find. I've used Mouse Dining, I've used Touring Plans, and I've used Mouse Watcher. Specifically, we used them for our last trip because we knew going around the 50th, it was going to be hard to find dining anywhere, even before, recent events made it even harder. We actually had quite a bit of luck with Mouse Watcher. That seemed to be the one we were getting the most texts for. That's an interesting one in that you sort of, it's kind of dynamic pricing depending on like what you're looking for and how long you want them to search for. It's more expensive than if it's a shorter time frame, or you can set up for $19 a month, get as many as you want. So they're another one where I think travel agents will do that one as well. But I was getting quite a few
$20 a month is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a number of them and for a larger group or whatever, it like you said, it's like the cost of Genie for one day. So
not only that, you only need it for a month, right? I mean, if you have a 60-day ADR window, you can't get it. You try by yourself for a while, and then the 30 days prior to your trip, you just load her up. Other tips for this is check your ADRs. Check for openings at restaurants before you go to sleep the day before you want to go. So if you've been completely unsuccessful, typically people will drop those reservations at the end of the day because they don't want to be charged the no-show fee or whatever. So I've been known to snag reservations just like old school fast pass where you're like refreshing. Like I've been refreshing. I found a slot. Good. It's just the same thing. So yeah, keep checking that. Like you got to work at it, right? It's you might be sitting there buried your face buried in your phone when you're online, but like I don't mind doing that because I it's the what is it? The joy of the hunt, so to speak.
Yep.
Type of thing.
Yeah, I think that was one tip I was going to give was like keep trying. Like, yeah, obviously it's important
Don't
to
give
try
up.
and you're 60 days out because that's when they become available. But a lot of people are modifying their plans constantly, and then like you said, the day before or even sometimes day of, things open up and stuff like that. So,
Totally.
especially if there's something specifically you want. The other thing when you were talking reminded me is if you are like in the mode of like really wanting to get these things and you sign up for some of these reminder or dining search apps, do kind of periodically log in on your phone, because there have been a few times where maybe I hadn't been in a little while and it auto logged me out, and then I like had to relog in, and I think in just those 30 seconds or whatever that takes, you could
It matters because other people are using this stuff too, right?
Yeah. The only other thing is this was more comical than anything else. I think it's funny is we've had a few where we've made things and then we like wind up canceling our dining reservations because we're moving things around, and we still had the search active for it. So then like I canceled it, and then like 5 minutes later I got a text alert saying this was available, and it was the one I just canceled. So obviously I didn't want to.
So now you know it works and how fast it works,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
It's a
It
test.
gives you an idea about roughly when the notifications go out versus when a cancellation happens. So I think those are the different ones. The other one on here was called WDW Dining Finder. I haven't used that one. It's $4.99 a search. A lot of these will do, especially the ones you pay for, will text you, where the free versions are only email, and texting's a lot faster. So I think if this is something
I was gonna say if you're using email, you're never gonna get it.
Yeah, because by the time you see the email, it's too late. So that's the other tip, is make sure you sign up for the text for those.
Absolutely, well worth it.
So I think the next one, my friend Rob on Facebook did ask, because he travels solo every now and then. Do we have any advice for sit downs for solo travelers? And this made me think even just like beyond that, like, yeah, solo travelers is a specific party, but what about other parties? Like how many adults versus kids, how large your party is, how many, if it's all veteran travelers versus having some first time travelers. So how does all that sort of impact how you dine?
So for solo travelers, like if I were to go down by myself, right, and I'm probably was talking away from the mic here, so let me lean back with the mic. If I was going by myself, right, and I would probably not worry about ADRs too much, because at least prior to COVID, a lot of the restaurants have lounges that you can just kind of walk up to, and you still get the ambiance, you still get the experience and some of the same food, but you're eating at the bar or standing room only or whatever it is. Like some of them have some of like those high tops that you can kind of sit at. So pick out whatever you like and don't worry about booking it, but just search for lounges. Those are usually pretty cool, and it's a pretty good tip there for a lot of people. You mentioned there's also tricks when you talk about multiple people in your parties. So you might find availability for, let's say you're a party of 4, right? You might not be able to find any tables of 4 available, but you might be able to book 2 reservations for a table of 2 type of thing. So try booking at different party sizes. I know this is off the solo traveler bit, but like you were mentioning different size parties type of thing. So try changing around the party size and say, once you get there, it's like, I have 2 reservations for 2 people. Anyway, we could have a table of 4, and they might be able to do a little pixie dust and massaging and get you in there. Now, you mentioned some other kind of configurations. What were you saying, like different veterans or whatever?
Yeah, so I was thinking, like, if you have a larger group, I think that's a really good tip. I know my wife went down in August. She had her moms and kids trip, so they were a group of 11, and they wound up doing a lot of that, like a group of 5 and a group of 6 or whatever. And then what I would suggest doing is just showing up a little early and kind of telling the host or hostess that you're here together, and not that they necessarily would get one large table for you, but they could at least sit you close together.
Yeah,
so you're not,
for sure.
You're not too far away. So that's one thing about that. And the other thing was just, if you have all veterans, I think obviously they've probably done more of the dining things. They have more input and stuff like that. Whereas if you're maybe bringing some people that haven't been before, I know we had a trip where we brought, went down with another family. It was their first trip. It factored in like, well, where do we want to dine? We want to give them some of those kind of unique Disney experiences. We did more food. I think when we have a larger party, we did more like ordering shareables. So I know one meal that came to mind was we were able to book California Grill for firework time, and that was kind of like showing off my ability to book things. They're like, oh, you planned this on purpose, didn't you? That we'd see the fireworks. I was like, yeah.
Yes.
But we ordered, a bunch of flatbreads and things that were kind of more shareable. So I think for people that maybe haven't experienced a lot or are worried about like, I don't know, this food looks maybe a little different to me, doing things that you can share helps a lot. But yeah, I think no matter who it is, just give them some options beforehand. I know we always have, kind of these planning meetings with our groups and just getting some input, what types of food do you want? What do you want to avoid? And that sort of thing. So I think that helps too.
Yeah, this will be my first trip coming up where we're going with other people that have opinions. when we're doing it's been just our family. So our kids have had no input really. And, kind of, if you want to dovetail into part 2, where we're talking about what we're looking for individually in this, it's, before it's like, we want to do exactly what we did last time because we had the last 3 trips were so magical. We want to do the same thing. I think that's how like traditions start, right? You're afraid to do anything differently because your time there is precious. You're like, we always do Chef Mickey's because 10 years ago, my son, when he was 3, had the best time when he saw Mickey. So now we always have to go, and you don't really always have to go. Yeah. So part of, the lessons learned from our last quick 2-day getaway type of trip is don't be afraid to try something new. So now part of our strategy is like, I want to start checking off a lot of these restaurants I've never been to. So that's kind of had a little bit of what I was looking to do. So what is your the dates of your next trip? I always forget.
So we get there on February 19th and leave February 26th. So it's Saturday to Saturday.
So we are, I got to pull up my calendar so hopefully I don't shut off my everything here. I think we are the 18th through the 27th. So we're basically overlapping. We gotta make sure we grab some beers at Epcot. Yeah. We haven't like aligned anything on this. Yeah. I think we should probably figure something out. Okay. Anyway, a plan within a plan, right? Let me bring up my list because we were just kind of chatting about this a little bit, and hopefully my email is going to open up. So, we have our arrival day. I was like, you know what? Let's not book anything because my parents are going to be down there 2 days before we get down there. We're driving, and my sister's flying from Dallas, right? So we could probably arrive whenever we want because we just have to hopefully hit our start time and get down there. And God willing, we'll be down there roughly within an hour or 2 of our projected arrival time. Everybody's going to be tired of traveling. So if you know what, let's not do anything. We're meeting Caribbean Beach Resort. Let's, my sister hasn't seen my dad in forever. The cousins haven't seen each other. Why try forcing anything? Let's just go swimming. If the pools are okay and the temperature's okay, let's just kind of grab some hamburgers or fish or salads or whatever anybody wants to eat.
Get food right there at Banana Cabana has some
exactly, and it's mostly going to be drinks, right? We just want to have a good time and relax, and not worry about scheduling anything. Just kind of let the day take our way and start a nice vacation. So, we you know what? I keep coming up with this. We need to have a plan alignment show. I think with all of our dates in park dates, that type of thing. Anyway. So on the 19th, it's our first full park day, Magic Kingdom. I mentioned this before. Skipper Canteen is my favorite restaurant there. We weren't able to go our last trip, so I'm like, we need to go down there. And my sister and brother-in-law are like, we've never been, we've always wanted to go, but that was always like the ADR that they canceled because they're like, oh, we don't feel like eating tonight, so we're going to cancel this. Or we were going to walk up because it's very walk-upable, I guess, if that's a term. Skipper Canteen is very rarely, or used to be very rarely full. And they've never just made it. You'd either leave or go quick service instead. So they're going to dig that one. And then Hollywood Studios is our second day there. I still haven't had a chance to try Oga's Canteen, so we're going to try to book that for any time during the day and kind of bang that one out. And then We're going to do the Sci-Fi drive-in theater. Is that a theater? Is it a restaurant? I forget what they actually call it. Sci-Fi
Dine-in theater. Yeah.
dine-in theater. Thank you. I was searching for that. Epcot, we have 3 choices that we want to do for Epcot. We want to try to book. It's I definitely want to see Space 220, but I prefer to do that earlier in the day. I don't need to have dinner there and everything else. So if I could grab a sandwich, I just kind of want to see the place type of thing. We want to do Marrakesh because that was on our plans, our 2019 trip that we canceled that reservation because we ended up not going to Epcot that day. We ended up going to Magic Kingdom that day, so we didn't do it.
So that's still not open.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that's kind of like a hope and a
hope
prayer type of thing.
Yeah. If it does, it probably won't be too hard to get. So
no. And then the other one is Garden Grill as another option we wanted because I've never been, my sister's never been, and that's like someplace that I know you really like, and a lot of people really enjoy that one.
We enjoy it. And they obviously still like kind of the modified character meats there, but they still have them, and they're always good there. So
yeah. So those are like 3, but worst comes to worst. Again, here's our backup. We're like, we could always go to the quick service in France because they got some really great food there. So, or we just start walking around just eating our faces off wherever our heart is content, so to speak. So I'm kind of looking for hopefully the weather's nice and we can do a lot of walking around.
And Festival of the Arts will be going on, so there'll be some
things to look at, check out. Yep, absolutely. Animal Kingdom. I forget now what restaurants at Animal Kingdom Lodge are open right now. I know there's at least one.
So Sanaa and Boma are open.
Right, so it's Jiko that's not
Jiko is
open.
not.
So what we're going to do is book, I think Sanaa that we put on our list. Because I've never been to any of the restaurants at Animal Kingdom Lodge. That's my sister's home resort for DVC. So I'm like, everybody talks up a big game about this stuff. So I'm like, I got to witness some of it. And I've never been to that resort either. Yeah. So do a little resort exploration too with that. Nice. And I figured with our Animal Kingdom day, that's going to be done by noon, assuming we can get on Flight of Passage somehow. Everest is going to be closed. That park's going to be practically empty at this point. So, or empty of things to do, I guess. And then, hey, let's take a bus ride over. It's a quick one. Have some dinner. We got another Epcot day. So same 3 options. Whatever we can't do, we're gonna do that. And then we have a half day planned at a park. So that's our Topolino's day because that's something all of us want to try. So we'll do like a brunch and then kind of mosey into the parks for fun, doing whatever, that type of thing. And then our second Hollywood Studios day, we're not going to do anything. We're like, let's just do quick service. My wife really likes the ABC commissary for some reason. I don't know why. I kind of make fun of her. But
they've actually expanded the menu a little. It's actually pretty good now. They have some good options there. So
no, I mean, like I remember eating there in 2019, and it was good. But it's just like there's no theming. It's not. It's just food, and you sit down at a table and you eat it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's. I'm like, okay. She must have had what I can't remember what she had. I had ribs, I think. And they were actually not too bad. And then Magic Kingdom, we have Hoop-Dee-Doo Review on our list, and I don't think that's going to be open by February by any means, unless they're secretly auditioning right now for it. So our backup there is going to be Artist Point, I think. And that's our last day there. So I don't think I have any hard reservations to get. Maybe Sanaa might be a little bit difficult. But anything stand out to you that might be other than Space 220, whatever.
Space 220, I guess we'll have to see. I think just because it's new coming back, Artist Point might be tough to get, because that's got characters and stuff too. So,
sure. Possibly. But like it's tough. It's quote unquote tough to get to. Cause right. You can't. So I'm thinking it might be.
I don't think it would have been, but just because it's like reservations, I think only open on the 16th of December. So it just might be a little harder to get.
Well, I think it's opening. I think that the reservation, you can start booking. I mean, we're recording this on the 12th. I think you could have started booking last week, but I could be wrong about that. Okay. I thought I heard some dates.
So we'll see. But I think that otherwise, and even for your Epcot days, you have backups. So
yeah, I think Topolino's might be difficult too.
Oh, I want to say. Yes.
That might be incredibly hard.
That's a hard one, especially for the larger group. You're definitely probably going to have to do. I hate saying that.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not making any of these reservations. I have a travel agent for the first time, and we just dumped this. Like, bless her, because we were going back and forth. My sister and I were on. It must have been like 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. last night, and we emailed our travel agent saying, hey, our ADR day is coming up on Tuesday, I think, and do we make the reservations or can you make the reservations? Is a very polite way of saying, can you please make the reservations for us? And she replied within 5 minutes at like 10:30 at night. I'm like, okay, well, she's been excellent all the way up to this point, and there's no reason for me to doubt her at this point. So I'm like, okay, party of 11, because she's got 3 reservations she has to work. Because I have reservation for 5, and then under my Disney experience, I have another room reservation for 2, but I think I can control all 7 of them. And then my sister's reservation. Right. So I'm like, she has both of them. And so like, okay, let's go. See if you can earn your dollars or whatever, your commission, I guess, whatever that is. So, but she's been, let's see, I'm nervous, right?
Yeah.
I'm nervous. But like, if she can't get anything, that's when I'll go Uber mode and start trying to find some stuff. So what are you looking at for? Have you planned it out yet?
Yeah, I've started planning out the week. As of now, we're not planning on doing any park days. We're just going down to the area, going to enjoy some different things, check out maybe some other theme parks, or just do other things in the area. The house we're staying off property in a rental house, has a pool and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of more like low key hang out, enjoy the weather type week. So we're looking at different Disney dining that's not in theme parks because we want to hit up a couple things that kind of are remind us of Disney or are more in-your-face Disney, but are at resorts or at Disney Springs. The other thing with our week is that Thursday, we have a couple early mornings because that Thursday I will be doing sunrise yoga at the Magic Kingdom. So I have to be there at 5:30 in the morning. And then the next day, the rest of my family is doing the Princess 5K as part of Run Disney. And that starts at 5 in the morning. I think they will be there even earlier. I think they're there like 3 in the morning or something like that. Goodness. So we have a couple early mornings that we have to kind of work around. So the 2 big days that I'd like to get something is our arrival day. I always like doing something nice on our arrival day. And then that Friday after they do their race, I think it'd be great to do something fun. They can show off their medals and stuff like that. So actually the one
is that the 25th?
Friday the 25th, yeah. So my plan for that day was actually to target doing Artist Point, knowing that Snow White would be there and stuff like that. We thought that could be a fun one.
Man, you couldn't do that on the 26th. You could go together. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. Right now, so that's our thought. But if I can't get in there, there's a couple of the other places we're looking at trying. We've never done Whispering Canyon, which is also at Wilderness Lodge, which I've heard is a lot of fun. We mentioned about Yachtsman Steakhouse. That's one we haven't done that I thought could be fun, and we could, just spend some time at the boardwalk area, maybe even take the Skyliner and stuff like that. We're looking at Citrico's, which has had that recent overlay, that new menu and stuff like that. So that would be, maybe we'll do that arrival night or something like that, because then we can watch the fireworks from outside, something like that. The other option we'd like to do is, we haven't done it in a few years, is California Grill. That's one of our favorites. I know they have a new prefix menu. We haven't done that
That's
yet.
on my bucket list.
Again, if we could do that arrival night to see the fireworks. And we also have the Animal Kingdom ones on there. Sanaa and Boma are ones that we've done Sanaa several times. My wife and I have done Boma in the past. We've never taken the kids there. So that's another one we might try to do. And we could do that almost like kind of any day.
Do it on the 22nd. See if we can align on that.
22nd? All right. Tuesday the 22nd will be our Animal Kingdom Lodge day. And,
hopefully I could get it. Well, here's the thing that I'm kind of embarrassed about, right? So I had this whole trip spreadsheeted out, and I did not have my spreadsheet with me in the hotel room I was at last night.
Oh.
So one of the things that I don't have to do every trip is Disney Springs. I could take it or leave it only because I've got younger kids, and you can't really take advantage of drinking and all that other stuff. But like we've teased on Twitter and everything else, like I love dockside margaritas. It's like one of the best things in the world. It's my favorite margarita on property. And my sister has to go to Disney Springs every trip. Like she goes to the Christmas store and does they have a routine and stuff like that. That's kind of tradition for them. I got to figure out when we're going to go on one of these things, because we have like the 23rd, I'm thinking a lot of our Epcot meals or lunches, right? Middle of the day type of thing. And I think maybe we do Disney Springs on one of those days. So either the 23rd or the 21st, I want to say. Whatever day that we don't want to stay for Harmonious.
Okay.
So we're trying to think of that. But one of those days also is my mother. I don't know why I didn't mention this before. She wants to do the tequila bar, so we're going to try to get. We have to do reservations for that now. I think, right? Before you can walk in, now you have to get
Do you
reservations.
just want to go to? Or do you mean the special tasting, or just going to La Cava?
I don't know yet.
Okay, because if you want to do the special tasting, that you have to make reservations for.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to go and enjoy, get a tequila, get a margarita and sit down in there and stuff like that, you just have to wait online.
Okay, maybe that's our backup then. I don't know if I want to spend the money on the tasting, but I kind of want to spend the money on the tasting.
It looks amazing. It is $150 a person. So.
Yeah. So.
But it looks amazing. So that's a bucket list item too.
My wife now has to sell more Disney wreaths and masks on her Etsy shop so we can get in there. Yeah, I think you have an interesting trip planned. I mean, I think we should go into more detail about it because it's a Disney trip that's not a Disney trip.
Exactly.
And I think
so
that
we're
might
down.
be.
I mean, we're obviously in the area. The house we're staying at is super close to Animal Kingdom Lodge and Animal Kingdom. But we want to do some other stuff. We also have friends who live in Tampa. We're talking about going over there to Busch Gardens and stuff like that. So we'll see. So yeah, maybe we could do that in future episodes.
And you get there. What did you say? The 14th?
No, the 19th, Saturday the 19th.
Okay, you get there a day after we do. I mean, I think at one point you just have to stop by Caribbean Beach Resort at the very least, and we'll have some drinks or something. Anyway, we'll have to have like a planning episode where we just kind of hash all this out. That'd be kind of fun. Do that live or not live because we don't go live. But anyway, that's kind of like my sister and I kind of willy-nilly, like we know what days our park reservations are. We picked restaurants and we had very little strategy in it. We just started picking things that we'll enjoy because it's been so long since I've eaten in a restaurant. My wife is panicking because this will be the first time she does indoor dining since COVID. But I keep telling her, it's like, okay, you're boosted up. 2 of our 3 kids are fully vaccinated, and we've got a 3-year-old that will protect, wear a mask, and it'll be fine. Don't have to worry about that. So she's coming around on it. So I'm excited. So I think any kind of restaurant at this point is going to be good, right? So it's like we can't get the reservations we want. Any backup will do because it's just big, fun family type of deal. So
I think that's what attitude I think we all have to go in for.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry about getting every little thing you want. Just enjoy that you're there and focus on the positives.
Absolutely. We're running long on this show, Phil.
Yeah, I was thinking we maybe save the other topic and do the DBC recommends or.
Let's do attractionality and go right into the DBC recommends, and we should be able to stay within 1 hour, like we're like the bosses that we are.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to switch to the panes here for people that are watching at home. This week's attractionality is the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. A storybook come to life, be swept away by the gust of wind with Gopher, Piglet, Eeyore, Kenga, and Roo before sliding inside Owl's house. Bob up and down with Tigger during a hide-and-seek adventure. Enter a dream world where singing heffalumps and woozles spring up and down. If you're watching on screen, I have last week's attractionality on here that we didn't go over, the carousel, which I think we'll be talking about at a later date.
Okay.
But to tie this in, Phil, what is the DBC recommends for this week? And we'll tie it all
the
together.
DBC recommends is something that my family did just yesterday. So of recording, so this is Saturday. We went into New York City and we saw the new Winnie the Pooh, the new musical stage adaptation that Disney put on at Theater of Row, just off Broadway, in a smaller theater, but really nice place. And it was a really fun production of Winnie the Pooh. Kind of a lot of classic elements of the story, a lot of the classic Sherman Brothers songs, but a few new ones too. The style of it reminded me a lot of the Finding Nemo, the musical, where it's like large puppets where you can see the puppeteers, behind them. But obviously the focus is the characters. Very intimate theater, probably only a couple hundred seats. So everybody was really close. You could see it. And it was just fun. It was only a little less than an hour long, so it's good for kids. But it was nice to kind of get out and see like a real high quality production of something. And we all really enjoyed it. So I definitely recommend it, especially, maybe if you have some younger kids that you're like, I'd like to get to see a musical or something like that. This is, a lot easier than taking them to see Hamilton or something like that.
And cheaper.
And I also could actually see this being, maybe a cut down version or something like this. I think this would be way better than, say like the so, some of the shows they do at the theme parks. I think this is something that could be at a theme park as a show. So
If you cut it down to like 20 minutes or so.
yeah, exactly.
Put it in an animation courtyard instead of that where you sit on the floor the whole time.
Exactly.
And do that
I think that'd
stage
be
show
great.
that they've got. So that leads us to the attraction is the actual Winnie the Pooh ride in the Magic Kingdom. And I like Winnie the Pooh as characters. They're some of my favorite characters. My sister doesn't like Winnie the Pooh. I don't know if she dislikes it, but she can take it or leave it, I guess.
Okay.
So the question one, Phil, is how much do you like the concept of this attraction?
So just so you know, my scores are probably going to be a little lower than others, and
Mine
think
were low too.
Okay, well then maybe not lower than yours.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I'm kind of probably closer to your sister, and I like the characters, I like the stories, I like a lot of the the animated programs, but they're not my favorite characters, and this will sound weird, but they don't feel as Disney to me as some of the other classic obviously it was acquired by A.A. Milne and stuff like that, so it's almost the original IP that Disney acquired. It's like the old Star Wars or Marvel.
Sure.
So to me, they're not as classic as some of the other dark rides. So I mean, I think the idea of a children's ride for Winnie the Pooh is good, but it's not as good for me as some other classic characters that could be used. So I give it a 4.
A 4?
Yeah.
I mean, like you don't like it, but you gave it a 4.
The concept of it.
Okay,
I think it's
gotcha.
good. Yeah.
I gave it a 2.
Okay.
Because I like Winnie the Pooh. I like dark rides, but I what I often do is I take a little bit of question 2 and put it into question 1 on this, and the concept of this attraction, like if it's just all you're looking at is dark ride Winnie the Pooh. Do I like that concept? Yes, I'll probably give it a 4. That's fine.
Right. Well, I guess that's what I was basing it on.
But I have to put it in context of other dark rides at the parks and the experience you get for what is a modern dark ride.
Yep.
And that's why I give it a 2. Because going to question number 2, how well do you think Winnie the Pooh delivers? I give it a 3. Because you could convince me to go lower on this one. And the only reason why I say that, it's because, I don't think it's a very good ride at all. It looks like it's just a bunch of cutouts and a bunch of things dropping from the ceiling. It's rather short. And, it's nice, vibrant colors. But the whole ride looks like something I could have put together with some neon paint and like a used track somewhere. Like there's nothing exciting or interesting about it. And I think 3 is probably a little bit high, but I know my kids like it. So that's why it got a 3.
I'm very similar to you and kind of bunching question 2 and 3, my personal enjoyment. I gave question 2 a 3 and question 3 a 2.
Okay.
And I think I gave question 2 a little higher than question 3 because my kids do enjoy it. As a family, we always enjoy when we go on it. We think it's fun. The bouncing element is fun. So I'm never upset that we went on it or anything like that, but it's also not something we plan our trip around.
Well, that's one of the only attractions we did not do our last trip, and we could have easily have done it too.
We wind up doing it most trips just because we know it's something everybody likes, and it usually doesn't have too long of a wait, or it was easy to get a fast pass back in the day, is like kind of one of your bonus fast passes or whatever. So we usually got it done, and we enjoyed it, but it's not a must do.
No, I'm the same way because question number 3 you can see on the screen if you're watching. I gave question 3 a 3. I mean, I enjoy it because I like the music, right? The Heffalumps, the Woozles, everything that goes along with it. I love the theming of it. It's just when I get off of it, I'm like, I just waited 20 minutes for that, or I just, the only time I actually enjoy myself, I think, is when you get the Fast Pass days. Like, oh, I just got an instant Fast Pass for it. Let's run through it real quick, and it's fine. Question 4 is how well do you think Winnie the Pooh fits into Fantasyland for Magic Kingdom? And I gave it a 5 because I think the concept, if like you take the Tokyo Disneyland ride and you put it in that show building, like all my scores immediately go way up.
Yeah. That knowing that there is that better version of it definitely brought down my question 3 score.
Yeah.
For question 4, I gave it a 4 just because I think compared to the classic, Snow White, Pinocchio, or even like a Mickey ride or something like that, to me would fit better in Fantasyland and Magic Kingdom. So that's why I gave it a 4 versus a 5. I mean, obviously it's still a world that you're being put in, so it fits well, but I gave it a 4 instead of a 5 just because I think other things fit better.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many interesting plans for Fantasyland when they were redoing it a decade ago.
Yeah.
That like Princess Fairy Tale Hall should not be used as a meet and greet. Like there should be dueling dark rides in those buildings, and
Kind
they
of
should
like
be
crazy when you think about it, how few dark rides there are there now versus like what's over at Disneyland or versus
Oh, yeah.
what Magic Kingdom had when it first opened. Like there's basically just Pooh and Peter Pan as far as the old school kind of tracked, dark rides.
I mean, like, if I'm redoing Fantasyland in a decade from now, or probably 15 years from now, right? So you want to wait 20, 30 years since the last redo. I think you do 2 dark rides in there, and you do them traditional Disney fairy tales, like the Snow Whites, Cinderella's, whatever is
what's
considered traditional.
Traditional by then, right? Like Rapunzel.
Right, like
or,
a Frozen, yeah, exactly, or a Rapunzel, those type of things. And then you take away Small World and you do our plan where you move it to Epcot, and so you have that big show building. And I think you need to do every princess should have a meet and greet similar to the Tales with Belle, right? It's a little interactive queue type of thing. And I think that was originally I'm listening to Len Testa's talking about it too.
At what point it changed or how many there were originally going to be, but there definitely was going to be like a more involved meet and greet. Maybe not as much as Enchanted Tales, but like more to it for like Sleeping Beauty and stuff like that. So yeah.
So I mean, anyway, that's again another idea for another show down the line where we don't have things as we're transitioning to this new format. I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yep.
We had a bunch of news items that we were going to kind of hash through, and those were primarily just kind of maybe we'll save these for next week because I definitely
it'll
want
still
to
be relevant next week too.
Yes, because no one's going to stop talking about it. And that was primarily Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser and the reactions to it. We touched upon it a little bit last week, and we're going to still keep talking about it. So that's the new format for the show. We're just going to hop into like just hanging out and chatting about the different things, what we're planning, what we're thinking, a random topic that hopefully we'll get some community engagement out of. And I think I need to do a better job of engaging the community on Discord because you've been doing that pretty well on Twitter. But maybe do like a channel where we do like the question of the week and get people talking. I think that might be a good thing that we could do.
Yep.
But that means we have to come up with our topics a week ahead of time,
versus
not a couple days beforehand. So we'll try better on that. And then we won't do any news. We'll just see what people are talking about. Maybe we'll come up with a more clever name or something, but it's basically what people are talking about. That's also the news. We'll kind of frame it that way. That being said, if you like us to do something different, or if you liked it, please leave a comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, or hit us up on Discord or social media, and with some feedback, we'd appreciate that. And did I forget anything else, Phil?
Well, just a reminder of our social media accounts: Twitter @PodDBC, Instagram the DBC Podcast, Facebook DBC Pod, YouTube channel, and the Discord server. Always available in the show notes and stuff like that, so you can always find it.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.